From WKYT Podcast, this is Uniquely Kentucky. I'm your host, Amber Philpott. All right, hello, Uniquely Kentucky listeners. We have taken the show on the road today. We're at a place that screams quintessential summer. We have taken it on the road to the ballpark, baseball. Whitaker Bank Ballpark. As I sit here today, we're in the middle of the Kentucky High School Athletic Baseball State Championship games. Awesome. So I'm here to talk to the CEO and President, General Manager. He used to do parking here. Yep. I think he's done everything. Mr. Andy Shea. Andy, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for coming and visiting me.
This is awesome. I mean, you get to come to work every single day at the ballpark.
It's so cool, and I try not to ever take it for granted. I mean, this is my 15th season with the Legends, which is still so weird and bizarre to say out loud because I still remember that first year and getting yelled at these high school games by parents for charging $2 of parking. And in the back of my head, because I, at that time, was semi-recently a high school baseball player, I'm like, man, I would have done anything to play at a pro ballpark, at a professional baseball stadium, be in the professional dugout. And I'm getting yelled at now 650 miles away from anyone I know for $2 or $3 for parking. But it is awesome. And I mean, every time you walk up and you park in a baseball stadium and you walk in next to the tickets, and I mean, heck, I'm wearing shorts and Nikes now. I mean, it's pretty awesome.
It's a pretty good gig.
Yeah.
We are so fortunate to have not only this facility in Whitaker Bank Ballpark right here in Lexington, but just to have a professional team like the Legends here. You guys have been around now how many years?
This is our 19th season.
Wow, that is hard to believe because I remember all the hubbub leading up to it, and then I guess time really does fly when you're having fun.
It's amazing, seriously, man, and it's wild, and that's why I love it personally and professionally, I guess, is that you just get a chance to meet and see literally hundreds and thousands of different people that they all come here smiling and hopefully leave here smiling too, but it's just awesome. I mean, we've got people that just, for the high school state tournament is a perfect example because it's literally from all over the state. For Legends games, they come in from all over the place to see the game, to have fun, and just like affordable fun. And then we've got the Ludacris concert next week. So, I mean, it just brings in so many different people, and it is like just a true entertainment venue as well.
We should say that the Legends are the reigning South Atlantic League champions. That was pretty cool. You have the rings to prove it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
got my own ring
Yes,
now.
we got the bling.
That is that's really awesome. And I think a lot of times people just think, well, we've got minor league baseball. I mean, they might win a few games, but you guys really came in with the idea that we were really going to make a winning team here in Lexington.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And I mean, it was just like, it was just one of those ones where it sounds hokey or whatever. I mean, people say it even in Little League where like you can just tell with how they mesh and their vibe. Well, it's very true. I mean, and that's what was cool with the guys last year is that they were really, I mean, because when you think about the socioeconomic background of all of the players on our team, so say just average, there's 25 guys on our team. Probably on average, about a third of them are from Latin America. A third of them were signed by the Royals out of high school, and then the other third were signed out of college. And so whether it's across the country, our map, or across the world, really, they're just thrown in a room and they're around each other all the time. They travel about 10,000 miles on a bus together. They play almost every single day. So it's really kind of unique when you can get them all on the same page because for the vast majority of the guys, this is their first full year of pro ball. So no matter what their background is, they definitely never played this many games and traveled this often and this much and everything. So anyway, so it's a lot of fun, and it was really cool seeing it from a team perspective because we've had a lot of it from the individual perspective where a few years ago, Ben Zobrist, former Legends, was the World Series MVP. The year before that, Jose Altuve was the American League MVP. JD Martinez came in second in AL MVP, and he won the World Series last year. So we've had a bunch of individuals that have gone on to do awesome things. But again, it was really, really cool having them all, as a team and just succeed like crazy last year.
And then it's always fun, too, to have the guys that maybe played ball here, like, say, at UK, and find their way back here. And that's really a cool experience as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So, I mean, one of our pitchers this year, Zach Hockey, it's awesome. One of my, I love all my legends the same, but one of the favorite definitely this guy Anderson Miller, who he grew up and played in South Lexington Little League. He played at Lafayette High School. He went to play baseball at Western Kentucky, and then he played for the Legends. He was the first and still only Lexington guy that wore a Lexington Legends uniform. And I mean, his parents are absolutely awesome, and they showed me a picture of him when he was like 12 years old, wearing one of the first Legends T-shirts.
Oh, that's great!
And it was the coolest thing seeing that that he grew up around it, went to games, was a fan, and then when he was a 21-year-old, was playing for us. So I mean, it was so cool and just an awesome story.
That is the thing I think that dreams are made of, especially, when you grow up playing sports, you want to make it to the next level, whatever that next level is going to be. And so you think about a kid playing in Little League here in town and being able to come dress out in a minor league uniform is pretty cool.
It's awesome. It's so cool. And then, again, being like the level that we are, and a lot of these guys' first year of pro ball, the way vast majority of them do not take that for granted. So they are pumped about talking to the kids, talking to the charities that we work with, hanging out with them, going to appearances and events, whether it's at schools, libraries, hospitals. Our guys literally do it all. And last year, again, talking about that special team, one of the guys, it was funny, I start seeing these pictures pop up like on Facebook and stuff. I'm like, what the heck is that? I was like, when did we do a backpack drive with the YMCA? He did it himself.
Wow.
Like he's 20 now. He was 19 last year, and it was just like, man, that is so cool that a 19-year-old in this position, when he could be stressing, he could be sleeping. I mean, let's be honest. Like a lot.
Let's be honest. These guys are not making it rich. I mean, I think we have that false sense because we see the draft just happened, and you see these multi-million-dollar contracts, and these guys are really doing the best they can on very little pay. As you said, they're racking up the miles on a bus going from city to city, and it's not glamorous, if you will.
No, that's what that's again what's super interesting is that some of those guys in the draft, they definitely get a very comfortable amount of money. Some of the guys don't get their trip paid for to spring training, and then they're hanging around each other. So I mean, it's really the whole dynamic of it is super interesting. So when you have guys like that, that literally spend their own time in a town that he had never been to Lexington before, and really there's a chance he may never again, but he wanted to do more in a sense than play professional baseball here. It was awesome.
Andy, you are sort of working the family business, if you will, right?
Yep.
Your family bought the Legends several years ago, and literally, as we said, I joked about you working parking, but you kind of worked your way all the way up to now having that title of president, CEO. Talk to me about that and just how your all's family got into this.
Well, so it's funny. So I mean, I played baseball at Boston College, and someone had approached my father about potentially being a minority investor in the Major League Baseball team, the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, now the Rays. And he kicked the tires, was interested. He's a huge baseball fan. Again, I have one other brother, so I mean, I'm the oldest son, and he was playing college baseball. So again, he had all the the passion for it, but then it was someone started talking to him like, hey, you should really look the minor league baseball angle. It's an awesome business. It's great for the communities. The markets are all fantastic. So that's when he started looking at that and bought the Legends and a team in Michigan at the time. And it was funny, the timing for me, I ended up tearing my shoulder, so my playing career was done. And I had never been to the state of Kentucky, let alone Lexington, and I had never even been to a minor league baseball game at that point. I had played at 2 stadiums, but I'd never been to an actual minor league baseball game. But I moved down here when I was 22 because I was like, hey, it's around baseball and that's fun. And I just graduated, a few months ago. So I got my last beach lifeguard summer in, of course. But then, moved here a few months later, and the first year, again, I was going literally door to door, business to business, selling season tickets, or at least trying to sell season tickets. And I still remember like it was yesterday that my 5th day of work here, I was walking door to door in Winchester selling season tickets. And, talk about culture shock, everything between, and it was on my 5th day of my professional career. And then I worked the parking lot during games. And again, at the time, it was like, man, what the heck? Who else did this? Why am I, where am I? I don't know, should I be in Philadelphia, all that? But now I wouldn't trade it for the world. And now I love every single one of those experiences. And I loved being able to really see the parking lot and see what it took to promote and sell the season tickets and learn the business and everything else. And, again, when I first moved here, I thought I'd be here for 1 season. Then it turned into 2 seasons. Then it was 3, before you know it, I'm starting 15 and have a family here and little brothers from big brothers, big sisters. And, just Lexington is home now.
In talking about working your way up and now being the age that you are and you're, that title, president and CEO, a lot comes with that. What do you find, Andy? How do you lead people? How do you make the best work environment possible over here at the Legends?
Well, as I think you probably know, I am all about having fun. And I learned that lesson when I was in high school, and I still quote him to this day. My high school football coach, I thought I had a couple good games, but the head coach was just ripping me a new one. And so then the next game I was like absolutely awful, and then the next game I wasn't very good, and I guess I wasn't holding myself upright and everything. So my assistant coach, who ended up becoming my head coach the next year, he's like, dude, what's up? Like, what's wrong? I was like, man, I thought I was doing awesome, and then, all the head coach it does is just tear me a new one and like brings me down. He was like, Andy, no matter what you're doing in life, he was like, whether it's socially, whether it's in football, whether it's in school or anything, he's like, you're not going to be good if you're not having fun. And that has stuck with me like crazy, maybe sometimes too much, but I take it a little too literally. But I love it. We all have fun in the office. We all joke like crazy. We all, we're pretty informal, but we definitely have our goals, our numbers, our targets, our roles and responsibilities. And, everyone works here a ton. So, that's the other thing of just, having that balance and just being able to, still relate to some of the people that are newer to the Legends, but then, being able to say, let alone the experiences of being here for 15 years. It's pretty awesome. And, I've been able to meet a lot of people, and I think that's, it's fun being able to get certain new people's foot in the door somewhere, or connect them with someone, because I didn't have that, and I would have loved that, and it's one of those things where it's like, hey, I remember the things that I wouldn't change for the world my first few years with the Legends, but I also remember the things for sure that, I was like, man, how did I stick around another week after dealing with that or not having that or whatever the case was. So, I try and, just be and we have sometimes, I have to step out because I want to keep my open door policy, but I do love it. And I do love being able to just kind of more or less hang out with some of the people here. And that's something that I learned a while ago, especially being someone that moves to a city where you didn't know anyone, because that was just a social bummer at the time of literally not knowing anyone, of being a 22 or 23-year-old. And it's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to throw on my Eagles jersey and I'm going to go to a sports bar because I might be the only person, going there by myself.
But there might be one other Eagles fan.
And you know what? And the dude is my friend today. And it was so funny from like January of 2005. So, there are certain things where it's just been awesome that it kind of forced you out of your comfort zone and out of your shell. So, that's what, and with the people that we have here, it's cool still. Like, there's still a handful of full-time and ushers that have been here longer than me, and they still love reminding me of that. But it's an awesome mix of people, and again, the thing that's cool is that we have people in our office that are from literally all over the country, from all sorts of different backgrounds, and just being able to talk to them and learn more about it and tell them about my experiences, both with the Legends, minor league baseball, but in Lexington.
Minor league baseball is known for a lot of shenanigans, just, trying to get people in the door. And that's just kind of its shtick, if you will. You guys do a really good job of coming up with a lot of different things, but also some meaningful things. I think, again, it's, we know Bark at the Park and things like that, but you guys have really come up with some things to reach out to different communities to really get them and embrace them here at the park. And I really find that interesting that you guys kind of said, this is what we want to do.
Oh yeah, well, so it's kind of cool. So it's always been in our company's DNA and everything. And then in 2017, we won out of the 160 minor league baseball teams, we won the Minor League Baseball Award for Community Organization of the Year. So it was really awesome, but then it also, like, I was like, all right, I got to look in the mirror, and it's like, well, what's next? I can't just be like, oh yeah, cool, pat yourself on the back, yeah, you did it. It's like, well, I want to be here for a long time. Like, so what? So we added a handful of other initiatives in, and one of them being, I'm so proud of this one. This is the second year we've done it. where we donate like $7,500 to 13 different little leagues, as well as do fundraisers for them, bring Big L, bring our players, bring our staff out. They do an awesome night at the ballpark, so it's just a win-win all around. And being able to expand on those programs. Our one with United Way. If you're in Central Kentucky and you donate even a cent to United Way of the Bluegrass, you get a free Legends ticket. We do all sorts of different fundraisers through the Legends or at the ballpark. I mean, I love when we have our walks and group events and board meetings and everything else at the ballpark, because it's like, hey, we've got everything here, but in terms of like the infrastructure, everyone's also excited about parking, so we've got the parking here. And then it's kind of, again, it's like, well, how can we do more? How can we make it bigger? How can we help them more? So that's always a fun, cool challenge, and it always, you talk about, you ask someone to make 75 calls in a day, and you can see them like soak down in their chair. But if you tell them that, hey, I want you to be the point person for the American Diabetes Association walk and fundraiser here, they light up and they're looking for how they can do more. And they might even end up making more than 75 phone calls, but they are super pumped about it. And it is just a breath of fresh air for them. So that's one of the things, I personally do whenever someone, when they, get kind of in the Legends and, kind of accustomed to the office or whatever else, I say, okay, here, quick, I'm going to say something to you, and you got to tell me what the first thing is that comes to your mind. What's a nonprofit or charity that's near and dear to you? So I really want them to say, hey, well, I'm not putting any pressure on you. And then I'll reach out to the XYZ charity or nonprofit, and if they have a board seat available, I love to recommend the person from the Legends. If they have a committee, if they have a walk, if they have whatever the case may be, so that each individual that's on our staff is involved with a nonprofit or charity of their choice. I do the same thing with Chamber of Commerce's. We're literally represented, and not just like, in name or membership type thing. We have someone who goes to the Mercer County Chamber of Commerce events, that goes to the Jessamine County events, that goes to the Rowan County events. We have our entire staff is represented at least one of those chambers. So I mean, it really is, it's a cool, kind of low pressure, low stress way for them to really get out and meet people, but also so that the Legends are represented at all these places. But then yes, we definitely like to have fun and promote everything. And we had one that we just like, now, we got it out there about our video, like just a fun, goofy little, video that we did in the office promoting the Ludacris concert. And the dude who was like the main character in it, I told him, I was like, man, you better never tell me again that you think it's unprofessional that we wear t-shirts as our staff uniform. I was like, because you can't, I was like, and I loved the video. I was like, but please do not tell me that you just spent a few hours thinking about that and creating it and being the lead actor, but you think wearing a t-shirt is unprofessional.
It got the message out, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's been awesome, definitely.
Andy, I've known you a long time. We've probably actually been professionally working in Lexington about the same time. And since I've known you, you really, community is what you're best at. Getting out, giving back. Is that something that was taught to you? For me, it was fostered in my family, and my parents kind of gave me like a servant's heart. Was that something that your family kind of instilled in you, or is it just something that you kind of learned professionally, like, man, this is just the way you do it?
I'd say that I definitely learned it. I definitely grew up with it, but also being able to have this office and be a representative of this company and organization has amplified it. My mom has the biggest heart of gold, and I mean, she lives in Philadelphia, but if I'm part of an event or if I'm in an event or whatever it is, she always makes the trip to be here. And that is something that is just so cool and special. She started her own. She's always been very generous with her, she calls it the 3 T's, time, talent, and treasure. But she also, she started her own nonprofit called Dancing with the Students in inner city Philadelphia like 12 years ago now, and it's so cool and special that it's grown to 2 schools in Lexington. And it was so funny. She would say to me, like, oh, one day, like, I would hope that, that we can dance at a Lexington Legends game. Like, would that be possible? I'm like, I can't tell if you're like guilting me into this, or if you're really literally asking me.
You are 2-time dancing.
I know,
with the
so it's
Lexington
like,
Stars
heck yes,
champion.
we can do it, and yes. But it's so awesome, and that again, being able to be with the legends and the professional baseball team and the one professional sports team in town, I mean, it really is awesome, and it has the opportunity to amplify all of our efforts.
You love baseball. You grew up playing baseball. I'm sure if you could, you'd still be playing baseball. What's your earliest memory of baseball in your life?
So one of my earliest, and this has been a funny one, especially now that I'm a dad of a 10-month-old, that my mom was like tossing me wiffle balls, and at the time my mom was wearing glasses, and I absolutely crushed one back to her, and it broke her glasses, and I kept saying, "Mommy, I'm so sorry, Mommy, I'm so sorry." And my mom was like, "It's okay, it was a great hit, it was a great hit." And then I said, "Mommy, I'm so sorry that I made your eyes bleed." And she was like, "Okay, I think we're done." But it wasn't her eyes bleeding, it was the glasses that cut her. But that was an awesome one. And then I still remember, this was so cool, when I was 12 years old, which is kind of like a big time in Little League. I mean, that's, it's the 12-year-olds that go to Little League World Series. And I'd kind of been, I'd started off awesome, but then was really kind of struggling. So it was really cool where I used to live. There was a big field out across the street from our house. And for multiple days leading up to our playoffs, my dad just threw me batting practice. And it was just me hitting, and then I'd go get all of the balls afterwards. And my first at bat in the playoffs, I hit a home run, and I just remember like just so happy. I mean, it was just awesome, and it was so cool. So there were awesome, a bunch of awesome ones, and I'm still best friends with all the guys that I played with in high school. I mean, it's awesome. It is. I don't know if I'd still like playing, or maybe I'd be in better shape if I was playing, I guess, because sometimes now it's tough thinking about, oh man, can you imagine being a catcher on a day like today? But
well, when that 10-month-old gets a little bit older, you're going to be running around, so you might be in better shape.
I've already thought about it. I need to start loosening up my arm now for coach pitch in like 6 years.
Andy, what did sports teach you, growing up in life?
My main, I think the first one that always comes to mind is that it's about the guy next to you. I mean, and that's what I love, is that, you, especially in a sport, well, in every sport, like, if you're not bringing the guy up next to you, then you're not going to do well. And, I mean, that's you could be so great individually, but if you're not making the people around you better, or if the people around you aren't doing better, you're not going to succeed, because it is a team sport. So, I mean, that whole teamwork aspect, but then being able to rely on the person next to you, and that that they rely on you. Mm-hmm. I mean, those are the things that, the whole, when you're playing the physical and mental mistakes, like, hey, I can deal with the physical mistake, but I cannot deal with the mental mistake. So, and I think that logic still applies to work today. It's like, hey, I can deal with if, say you didn't make a certain amount of sales if you were trying. But if you weren't trying and you didn't, that's when I can't deal with it.
Sometimes I think growing up, having played sports, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, because we're two very driven people. But then sometimes I think, man, like I should tone it down just a little bit. But that's all I know. When your dad says, hey, go out and throw 300 pitches into a dog cage to get better, you're driven to do that. But then you're also like, my expectation of everyone else usually is way too high as well. And so sometimes I'm like, man, it's a blessing and a curse.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are certain times where like I'm like, wait, is it fair for me to think that, that they're just not as pumped about this as me? And then like I'm kind of, but then I'm like, no, I was like, everyone should be this pumped. So like, I try and be as reasonable about it as possible. But yeah, I mean, that whole competitive kind of like alpha drive is real. You
have been really important to the Big Brothers Big Sisters program here in this community. You have been a big for a couple of guys, and I know that they are so very special to you. Why was that something that was important to you to give back to those guys? Because when I see them with you, like, I would assume that they're yours. I mean, that is how close you guys are.
Oh, it's awesome. I mean, we dropped the From Big Brothers Big Sisters, a few years ago. Mm-hmm. It's just, he's my brother, or they're my brothers. It was funny. I mean, I almost wish I had like a better story, but like, I mentioned my mom earlier, and she's a huge birthday person. Always been a huge birthday person. Always reminded me almost every day of some random person that there's no comfortable way to actually. I was like, why the heck would I was like, I can't. That'd be so bizarre if I reached out to them saying happy birthday. But anyways, she's a huge birthday person. So I think it was after like it would have been my 27th birthday. And I had a good old fun weekend and everything, but then it was like, kind of looked in the mirror and was like, man, there definitely has to be something more and something different and all that stuff. And I just, learned more about Big Brothers Big Sisters a week or two before because they had spoke to our office and all that stuff. So then the next day, I reached out to them and said, hey, I think I'd really be interested in this. And the thing that like was so awesome was that, like I would joke, like when they would ask like in the little interview thing, like what's your perfect little look like? I was like, well, he doesn't have to like sports, but that'd be awesome. It doesn't have to be like an athletic guy, but I work here and I did play sports. So the match has been absolutely perfect. And I was matched with Christian when he was in 5th grade at Harrison, and it was the wildest thing celebrating his 21st birthday the other day.
Wow.
It was awesome, but
21st.
So weird being at a bar or whatever, hearing him order a drink, like at the restaurant. Like it was so crazy. But then it was kind of like, through Christian when he was in 5th grade, so he was like 10 or 11 at the time. Like I'd pick him up at his house or at his, like whatever the case was. And, there was one time where he would say like, hey, is it okay if Timmy comes? So of course I said yes, and then like, is it okay if Byron comes? Yeah, of course. Is it okay if Scooter Terrell comes? Yeah, definitely. So it was kind of funny. I was kind of slapped on the wrist, and that's not how the program is supposed to go. But I was kind of like, you know what, I can do.
Right.
I'm fine with it, and I know that my intentions are in the right place. Mm-hmm. So, and then it was cool too at the time, because if it was just Christian in my car, like, and we were going to a restaurant, like he'd sit in the front seat. Hey, how's school going? Good. What's your favorite subject? I don't know. Did you see this NFL game? And then we get talking like crazy and we talk about that. But, when he was with his buddies, they'd sit in the back seat and they'd be hitting each other the whole time and they'd be whispering the whole time. And so I was just like, man, you know what? I love my time with him and I love when it's just the two of us, but I also love it when he can be an 11-year-old. And he didn't, it's not like he had any of those opportunities otherwise. So through him, it was his cousin Curtis, Dayron, Keon. There's so many of them over the years, and 3 of them were groomsmen in my wedding 2 years ago. And it was so special that the first person, when we brought our son Drew home, the first person that met him was Christian.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I loved that, and it was very intentional for sure. But it was just so special, and I can't wait. And seeing the pictures, and when he asks about him, and when Dayron asks about him, and it's just awesome, and they are Uncle Christian, Uncle Dayron, Uncle Curtis. That's who they are.
Andy, when you sit here and we're watching some guys take, warm up on the field and stuff, and this is just so cool that Lexington gets to experience this. How proud are you of when you sit here and you get to kind of sit back and look at everything over the park and the legends and the things that get to come here to the park?
I am so proud. And one of the coolest, I guess it's almost counterintuitive, but it's when it's something that I know I don't know anyone here and I had nothing to do with it. That's when I'm like even more pumped, because it's like, yes, there are so many awesome things going on, so many awesome people making this happen. And it's just fun. That's what the amount of smiles and entertainment and people thanking us for their night here. It's like, whoa! I was like, that we should be thanking you for coming.
Absolutely.
And we do. But that's when it's just so proud when you see the fans go absolutely wild, and when it's 19 years into the stadium, but they're still talking about how clean, awesome, safe, easy it was to walk in and get to here, and that hot dog was awesome, and all that stuff. That's when it's, again, it's like, oh man, that is so cool and so lucky.
Absolutely. Andy, as we wrap up, one of the things that I always ask every guest, this is called Uniquely Kentucky, and obviously Kentucky wasn't your home, but it's become your home. What do you think makes this state so unique?
I think that it's so cool that it's just like a little bit of everything. And what I tell all my friends from home, honestly, is that it's a small city, but it's not minuscule. And there's a ton of different things to do. I went to Boston College, and Boston has a ton of colleges and college students, but it in no way is a college town. This definitely, you have like that university feel, but then you have Keeneland and the Red Mile, which is so cool and something that I'd never thought of twice before. In terms of the whole horse world, you've got the Legends in the spring and the summer. You've got the it's emerged, I guess, in a sense, but always growing, the arts scene, which is really kind of cool. And, I love that part at the ballpark, because it's like, man, my brain doesn't think that way. So it's like so cool being able to mix that with sports and athletes and all that stuff. And then you can go 10 minutes away and you are in like the most beautiful rural horse country that, again, in my first however long in my life had never seen anything even remotely like it. Then you can be only about an hour, an hour away from there, and you're in a bigger market, and you're in Cincinnati, and you've got an NFL team, and you've got the Major League Baseball team there, and all that stuff. Or you go only 2.5 hours, and you're in Nashville, which is one of the cooler cities that I've ever been to. So that's like one of my favorite parts, is that, there's so many cool, awesome, unique things going on right here in Lexington. But, if you just drive a little bit, in Philadelphia, it could take you an hour to get to, 6 miles away.
A couple miles, yeah,
exactly.
easily.
Here, you can have like the most unique and different experiences so easy.
Yeah. What are you hoping to see the rest of the season? Because Lord knows baseball's a long season,
oh,
so
yeah,
you still got a long way to go.
Well, so I want to see plenty of people here, plenty of people smiling. Knock on wood, hoping to get another concert here for September. So that's what, again, a huge goal of mine is to see how we can utilize this facility 365 days a year. We have 70 Legends games. So then, okay, well, what do we do with the other almost 300 days of the year? So that's what's so fun, and that's what hopefully keep filling up that schedule.
Music is pretty cool in this venue, so awesome. You keep us posted on that. As I said, Andy, we say thank you to your family for investing in the Legends, investing in this park, in this town, and bringing good, clean fun to us here.
Oh, yeah.
All right. If you see Andy out, tell him thank you, because he is a big player in our community and just does so much. And certainly they do a lot here at Whitaker Bank Ballpark, and we're thankful for that. So thank you for listening to Uniquely Kentucky. Until next time, folks, I'll see you on the TV on WKYT.